Between the islands of St. Croix and St. Thomas, here in the US Virgin Islands, the maximum depth is about 13,000 feet.
Wow, that sounds very deep, and that seems like a lot of water to explore.
It absolutely is. Now, we can't dive that deep, but we can get to the edge of the abyss and kind of peer over into it to see what's down there.
Where would we do something like that?
Well, there's a dive site called Vertigo here on the northwest end of the island that nobody really goes to. So how would we make that happen today?
Well, we would have to get our own dive group and charter a boat out there because it can be pretty secluded, and with bad conditions, it can get pretty rough.
When we dive, everything is working against us because we'll be going down to the recreational dive limits of 130 feet or 40 meters. Those adversities are going to be amplified, but more on that in a minute. Conditions this week have been really good. We sort of front-loaded our group here with instructors and advanced divers. So we've got a good group with us. We've chartered a boat. I think we can make it out there, but unfortunately, the conditions today have really turned.
Yeah, it's looking a little windy and the waves are building a little bit today.
They are. It's no longer flat calm like it was through the week, so we're just gonna take what we get and we'll see how visibility is, but let's go look over the edge into the abyss. We're less than a mile or 2 kilometers offshore, but yet, as we approach the dive site, there is over 1,000 feet or 300 meters of water beneath us. We've only got a few minutes before we hit the water, so we get geared up and ready to go.
All right, is everybody ready? Probably about 1 minute to drop.
One of the biggest factors working against us is time, and in more than one way. First, our air supply is limited underwater, and we can only stay down as long as we have air, and we need to return with some still available in reserve. However, on this dive, our air supply and the time it affords us to stay underwater is not the biggest limiting factor. Today, our dive plan has us staying within the recreational scuba diving limits, which means that we're doing no decompression or no stop diving. Essentially, we always need to be able to ascend directly to the surface safely without stopping. And the key critical factor we need to keep an eye on is our no decompression limit, or NDL for short. Our NDL reflects the amount of time we can stay at any given depth and still be able to ascend to the surface safely without stopping. If we stay past the time indicated by our no decompression limit, or NDL, we run a high risk of decompression sickness because we unwittingly entered what's known as decompression diving, where we need to make mandatory stops before surfacing. The topography down here is known as a spur and groove formation, where ridges of coral reef called spurs are separated by large sand channels, or grooves. Because of recent rains and heightened sea conditions, visibility down here is reduced, and we're using the edge of one of the spurs to guide our way to the edge of the wall, a location known as Vertigo. When diving, we're under extreme pressure from the water around us, and nitrogen from the air we breathe is continuously dissolved into our blood and body tissues. If the pressure around us were to rapidly decrease, say for example if we ascended too fast, that dissolved nitrogen could form bubbles and cause injury to tissue or block blood vessels, which is known as decompression sickness. The best way for us to minimize the risk of decompression sickness is to dive our plan, stay within our prescribed limits, and do not exceed the time we have remaining on our no decompression limit, or NDL. The deeper we descend, the less time we can stay at that depth. We're currently at 77 feet or 23 meters, and time is a bit on our side because we can stay here for 18 minutes. However, our mission for the day is to see what's over the edge of the wall. So we continue our descent and watch as the minutes rapidly disappear. Descending below 80 feet or 24 meters, we're excited to see visibility open up because this means we'll have a clear view over the edge of the wall. It doesn't seem like it, but as we approach 100 feet or 30 meters, we're angled almost straight downward, and we get a surprise encounter with a pair of French angelfish who escort us part of the way. But we need to push on because time is increasingly against us. Hitting our limit of 130 feet or 40 meters, we level off and note that we can only stay here for a maximum time of 3 minutes. It's amazing that even this deep, we've barely broken the surface, and there's more beneath us than above. But yet the wall is teeming with life and full of color. Starting to slowly ascend, time is still working against us, and we continue to monitor our NDL closely. It feels as if we've had the opportunity to get a tiny glimpse of a world that is part of our own, and one we all depend on, but at the same time is completely out of reach and almost wholly unexplored because of the pressure, constraints, and limitations the deep ocean imposes. Pausing to perform a safety stop for 5 minutes at a depth of 20 feet or 6 meters, we slowly ascend, grateful we've had the opportunity to see what's over the edge of the wall. Check out this video on drift diving next, or click on our playlist of St. Croix to explore more of this amazing island. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time underwater.